With the clock ticking down and the X-Men of Krakoa greatly trailing the Swordbearers of Erica, will young Cable be able to make all the difference and help win the tournament? Well, let's hop into the pages of Cable number 6, a continuation of X of Swords, and find out together, shall we? So then, this newest issue actually takes place directly after the events of Hellions number 6. Mr. Sinister has returned, with the rest of the Quiet Council being none the wiser to his evil activities. Naturally, Xavier, Magneto, and Emma Frost want an update on what's been happening in the other world, and Sinister, while he doesn't actually know the answers, is quick to make something up. He assumes correctly that if his own team of Hellions could be so easily butchered by the forces of Erico, then surely their team must be losing really hard right now. I mean, he's right, but he has no way of knowing that. Also, doesn't anyone else think it's weird that all these powerful psychics don't bother to read the mind of a guy whose name is literally Sinister and is known for lying? The council begins to weigh their options. Should things not go their way, they will summon their war generals and destroy the portal from their end, stopping the forces of Erico from entering. Now, back over in Otherworld, in the actual tournament, it seems that crazy old Saturnine has finally gotten bored of having insane competitions. Instead, she's opted that now is time that everyone should actually start killing each other with swords. The next bout will feature young Cable versus Bay the Blood Moon Hunter, and believe it or not, young Cable actually does a pretty good job and gets an upper hand in the fight. Only here's the problem, Cable can't actually bring himself to execute Bay, knowing that her and Cypher had recently gotten married, and come to think of it, maybe that's exactly what Saturnine had in mind when she forced a wedding. Bay capitalizes on this moment of weakness, breaks young Cable's arm, and is about to kill him when Doug actually steps on in and stays her hand, because, you know, they're married after all. Saturnine, in her insane wisdom, says, you know what, this is good enough. Being so thoroughly embarrassed probably should count as a death anyway, so we'll let young Cable off the hook this time. What follows after that is genuinely heartbreaking and actually kind of a bit funny as well. You see, Cable uses his powers to reach out to talk to his two parents on Krakoa. The whole conversation basically plays out like a little kid asking his parents to pick him up from sword camp because the other kids were mean to him. He further goes on to say maybe if he was the other Cable, he would have been able to do what needed to be done in the fight. Needless to say, Cyclops and Jean are pretty confused by what exactly is going on in Erico, but before they can actually make plans with their son, Saturnine opts to cut the psychic call short. Now, there's only 2 bouts left in the tournament, and the X-Men are trailing tens of points behind, but they hope that they can turn it all around with the next fight, which will feature Gorgon versus the White Blade. This is going to be another no-nonsense fight to the death, but the White Blade decides he's going to flip the script on his own. You see, all the people that he brought back to life and are part of his legion technically count as extensions of his own sword. So instead of fighting Gorgon directly on his own, he's going to send henchman after henchman right his way. Gorgon actually fares really damn well in this fight, turning his opponents to stone before cutting them up with his swords. Of course, White Blade soldiers aren't stupid though, and once they realize his eyes are the source of his power, they just kinda gouge them out. But you know what, even after that he kills a bunch of them. They have to eventually overrun him like locusts before they can eventually kill him, and Whiteblade steps on in to finish the job. It's still left a little open-ended over whether or not he plans to resurrect Gorgon as one of his thralls, and if he did, there might be no stopping him. Now here's where things really start to get interesting. Whiteblade may have won that fight, but Gorgon also got a point for every henchman that he killed. Meaning that heading into the final round of the tournament, Krakoa and Erico are actually tied. And who will have the last sword fight, you're probably wondering? Well, they don't even wait for Saturnine to make the match because we obviously know it's going to be Apocalypse versus Genesis. Because after all, isn't this what X of Swords has always been about? These two fighting an ancient feud with the fate of their two respective nations hanging in the balance? And so that was Cable issue number 6, everybody, and shockingly, it didn't have that much to do with Cable. I actually know a fair amount of people actually had Cable dying in their death pool for this event, figuring that if they were to kill off young Cable, it would be an interesting way to basically age him up into his older counterpart. But no, he manages to stay alive, only dying a metaphorical death that maybe will push him to, live differently and maybe try and be closer to his older counterpart. Hats off to the whole creative team, too, for including Gorgon basically from the beginning of this new Dawn of X era, knowing full well that this is probably how he was gonna go out. out. Gotta wonder too, now that Whiteblade essentially turned against his entire team and helped the good guys get so many wins in a row, if when the tournament is actually said and done with, if they're not all gonna fight each other. I don't know if this is a particular high point of the series, but it's certainly a lot better than the last Cable issue we got in X of Swords, so I'd feel comfortable giving this one a 7.5 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I just want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. And hey, if you enjoyed the book I covered in this issue and want some comics of your own, might I recommend Book Depository? It's my #1 place for shopping for comic book trades. You get a great price, and if you use my link down in the description, you'll actually be helping me out at the same time. You get something, I get something, everybody wins, right? So until next time everyone, I've been Joel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.